Hi, my name is Eric Phillips. I'm an independent documentary filmmaker, and out of all the things that I really love in life, you know, I guess there's just so many things in life that I've fallen in love with. I just had my birthday. I just turned 41 years old, and I gotta say that it's probably the most magnificent birthday I've ever had. And I grew up in a little town. Well, it's not a town. It's a huge ass town of Whittier, California. Not a lot to do out there. It's not like they have a bus system or anything else. And I don't know. I grew up as a little kid in a very strict family. They didn't give me a lot of leeway. They didn't give me a lot of opportunity to really grow or expand who I was as a human being. I led in a very sheltered life where the adults really believed that children were to be seen and not heard. I went through a lot of abuse. I got taken away from my mom when I was in the 4th grade, and it turned out that it had actually something to do with the fact that as a kid I was experimenting with other kids. That isn't the part that my mother had a hard time with. It was the fact that I was experimenting with someone of the same sex. We were really good friends, and it was just recently that actually for my birthday I actually wanted to go out there and say hi to him and see what happened to him. It's interesting because it turns out he's also, well, he's married to a man, which I thought was really interesting, that we grew up together and we both kind of ended up the same, and we had fallen apart all these years. So after growing up in that type of an environment, though, it wasn't supportive. I didn't have family to support me, and ever since I was as young as I can remember, this is kind of going back even further, but before I was actually born, I remember having an opportunity to go to one of two families. One family, my mom would die when I was 18, and the other one, she would die, or not she, but I would be in a very good, loving household with a big family, very supportive, and I remember choosing the one where my mom would die when I was 18. And I became a troubled teen. Eventually, I'm up here right now actually in Mount Whitney, visiting some friends, and I decided to go ahead and start this documentary a little bit and just tell you a little bit about who I was. But during my high school time, I came up to Lone Pine High, where I got to go out there, really kind of experiment, being around other people, kind of getting away from my mom, getting away from that influence. And it's really a chance where I got to grow. I had my first girlfriend out there, and we went together for a couple of years. It was good. It was a lot of fun. And I got to really kind of live life to the fullest. Following that, I ended up in the Bay Area, where I got to experiment with myself and other people, have a lot of fun, and ultimately it would get me to a point where I would end up with HIV, and I'm okay with that. I wouldn't take it back because I've learned and grown so incredibly much from it. My life really has been one big blessing. It's been one event after the next. In fact, just recently, for my birthday, I went out and I bought this card. It's a butterfly, and on the inside of it I wrote down the word miracles, because that's really what my life has been. It's been one miracle from one thing to the next, and it's kind of how I got to where I am today. So the reason that I decided to, first off, I was sitting inside of a car wash. It's actually kind of a really funny story. I was sitting inside of a car wash, and I was looking at these cars, and I was thinking, it's my birthday, I should buy myself something. So being the fact that I don't have any family really to speak of, certainly none that are really supportive. I've got maybe a couple of people in my family that I'm still in touch with that are supportive, but for the most part, I believe in holding people accountable for their actions, and my family really just kind of did their own thing and left me even homeless for a couple of years after my mom passed. But it was ultimately at the age of 22, and I am getting to the butterfly question, but ultimately at the age of 22, that's when I took my life. I took enough pills to kill 10 people, and miraculously, I remember the entire process. I remember the judgment that came. I remember thinking, that's real, but it was real, but not the way that I thought it was going to be. I was judged, but I was judged by myself. I had thousands, literally thousands of people per second running in front of my face, and I knew who each and every single one of them were. I knew which ones were still around. I knew which ones had passed, because I was on the other side. And what's interesting is that eventually I was told I was coming back, that I wasn't done here. And next thing I knew, I was hysterically excited. I flumped back down into my body, and boom, there I was, and I'm back, and now I'm here, talking to you, kind of sharing this stuff with you. Butterflies represent transformation. Transformation of the most beautiful stuff. And this butterfly, it was like completely almost watercolored. It was just gorgeous. And I saw it, and it was funny because I was sitting in the car wash, and this lady's looking at these cars, and I was sitting at the table, and I didn't want to get up because I had my service dog Lucky with me. And basically I was looking at these cards thinking, I wish that card thing could just magically turn for me so that I could see some of the other cards. And to my surprise, the lady that was sitting there looking at actually turns it the direction that I wanted her to. And there was this beautiful card with a butterfly that was like water painted. And it was a simple card. There was nothing on it, nothing written on it. And I thought, you know, my entire life up to this point has been nothing but miracles, and the fact that I'm still alive at the age of 41 is a miracle. Now, I told you that I had HIV, but I've got other complications too. Now, the doctors say it's not related. I was told about 3 years ago that I had something called Castleman's disease, which is a type of cancer. And as I understand it, it's a type of cancer that stays inside the blood. So it literally goes up into the skin, not into the skin, but into the veins, and it never actually goes into the tissues in the body or anything like that. So talk about miracles. They said no one has ever survived it for longer than 3 years, excuse me, for longer than a year. And I've broken all of those by being here for 3 years. So that was pretty neat. So on my birthday, I was sitting there at the car wash, getting my car washed, just doing a couple of things for myself, and I saw this and I thought, this would be amazing. I love this card. So I took it, I brought it home, I looked at it and thought about it, and I thought, miracles. Life is about miracles. And you know, that's what I've devoted myself to. In the beginning, I took from people. I hurt people, I took from people. I was maybe not such a nice person, but along my path in life, what I discovered is that you gotta be able to help people. You gotta step up, you gotta be a human being, really. People are here to support each other, to love each other, to be with each other, and that's kind of where I kind of brought myself together. So one of the things that I figured is being honest, being truthful with people, and sharing my story is one way that I can actually help people to accomplish their dreams and the things that they want. As an independent documentary filmmaker, I get to go out there and I specialize in helping people to become aware or open their minds up to people with mental illness, or that's the documentary I'm currently working on. But, you know, it goes around a lot of things. It's all about, I forgot the name of it, alternative medicine or alternative care, chiropractic care. People will go to psychics for, you know, for service. People will go to acupuncture, acupressure. There's all kinds of things that are alternative. And so when they told me that I have this type of cancer and that I had to go out there and get radiation and chemotherapy immediately, I looked at him and I laughed at the doctor. I respect doctors, don't get me wrong, I did it in fun, but there's no way I was gonna do that to myself. I did the research, I know what that stuff does to people. And you know what, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You absolutely should follow whatever it is that your doctor is telling you. But I also believe that people sometimes, not sometimes, I think it's in our culture. A lot of people, what they like to do is they go and they go to other people looking for answers when the answer and everything that they need is right there inside of them. And that doesn't mean that you can just go out there and buy a new $15 million car, but that being said, you have the ability, you have the resources that are necessary for you to figure out how to do it. And you have one life and this is it. It's time for you to step up. Be a human being. Be the person that you came here to be. I think the biggest problem that I see with people that I work with in being a master trainer and teacher of all of these different alternative type educations is again and again and again I see people, some people will say they just get lost. I don't think that's true at all. I think what happens is people just forget. They forget where they came from. You have to remember that You were born into this world with 6 senses. Now when I say 6 senses, I am talking a little bit different than maybe what you've heard before. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, auditory digital, smell and taste. That's it, smell and taste. Those are the senses that you are born with. Now, prior to that, you had a set of senses, but you probably don't remember. But if you want to know, go ask your kids, because in almost every case, kids remember. You know, it's funny, I often tell people, because dogs and cats, other animals, they have senses that we don't. They can see things, hear things, and probably have other senses that we just don't have. And when I think about that, that's one thing that I commonly tell people, is that with all of the senses that you do have, you've forgotten about the ones that you still have that you don't know about anymore, because you've forgotten about them. But I bet you if you ask your kids, they know. A lot of times people say the kids just have a big imagination. Did you know that a big imagination is your friend, especially in this world? So I think that people do kind of lose that sense of who they are, where they forget. You know, as we're growing up, we're taught that stuff isn't real. I've got to tell you, I have seen, I've had people come through my seminars, I have seen things, I have heard things that are simply not possible. Let me share with you just how smart you are. Your body is made up of all types of organs and blood, and you got all this stuff in here. But I want to talk to you a second just about your blood, because your blood is smart. Yes, you heard me correctly. Your blood is smart. I remember I had a friend that worked in a veterinary hospital. She was a vet tech, and she privileged me by allowing me to draw her blood, and also she drew my blood, and I wanted to see it live under a microscope, and she's like, you gotta blow dry it and put it on a slide, and I'm like, no, I want to see it live. I don't want to kill it. I want to see the actual I want to actually see the cells. And so I put it down there and we adjusted it, and amazingly, we got lucky. We were actually able to see the live cells. Now, all of the cells were on one side of the plasma, and the most amazing thing happened. When she walked, now keep in mind that we're inside of the office, there's no one else in the office except her and I, there's no air conditioner on, the windows are closed, there's no movement. Now, here's what happens. We're looking in the microscope at these cells, and they literally, she walked across the room, and when she did, all of her cells swam as fast as they could through the plasma to the other side, and they all congregated on the other side. Even the ones that were dying were trying to make it over there. They followed her because they knew where she was. They understood where they belonged. That's how smart your body is. If your body's that smart, I'm willing to bet you there's things about your body you don't even know. It was her blood, just her. And she happened to decide to walk from one side of the room to the other, and literally the cells swam through the plasma to the other side. It was actually pretty cool. And it shocked me. It shocked her too. We couldn't believe it. Now, my cells didn't quite respond the same, but I happen to think that the reason they probably didn't respond the same on mine is because with the HIV, my cells are a little wacky. I don't think they quite know what's going on. However, that being said, alternative medicine says that I should be able to use my mind to be able to start healing the body. Now, believe it or not, just a week ago, I was looking really sick. I was sick. I was sicker than a dog. Where did that saying come from? I love dogs. Okay, scratch that. But I was sick. I was really sick. In fact, I was so sick that I really truly believed that there was a chance I was gonna die. But if you look at me now, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I look great, I'm full of energy. I didn't even get sleep last night, and I'm perfectly fine today.